right, so thanks everyone for coming over. And as I mentioned that this is going to be very interesting topic and a very interesting session by Jitendra. But before we unfold the session, let me tell you something very interesting, which is that these sessions, code camps, will now run as knowledge, which means that as a presenter, Jitendra will have the opportunity to spotlight two of the knowledges who participate excellently during the session. Now, the definition of participation is asking questions and getting clarity over doubts. So, I mean, the opportunity is available for every one of us to get spotlighted. And now the benefit is if you get spotlighted, that means that you will be getting extra points onto your kitty on Go One Up platform. So thanks everyone and avail this opportunity to the fullest. And with this, I'll leave the platform to Jitendra. So thanks Jitendra for coming over. Over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So today topic is JUnit, mainly why we need unit testing and how to do it using JUnit actually. So as we know, unit testing is very integral part of any software development, right? So first we used to test the smallest unit of our code, then only we can be sure, and then we can do the development more and more, and then we can finally test all the component together. But it will start with the smallest thing, which is in our case is a method, right? So so we create data for all scenario, both positive and negative, and then pass the data to the method and check the expected result. So when we pass the data, we know what should be the results, and then we check if the result is same or not. So this is what we call unit testing for a particular method. So a proper unit testing tells that your smallest unit of code will work the way it should. It is hard to find the issue in the later stages. And also, like, very important point, your ticket task is not complete without the unit test case. Okay.
All right. So Jitendra, can you please use the slideshow mode?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Johnny. Okay. So here we are going to see how JUnit framework help us to do unit testing. So it gives a set of classes to run our written code with all possible data it takes. Okay. And in this framework, it gives many annotations and methods to run and check the output of the written code. So we already know, but if like we'll see what is the meaning of everything that we write. Okay. And we also see Mockito framework also. So it works together with JUnit. So it helps to do unit testing by mocking other object, by giving us set of classes to run our test cases with removing our dependencies on third-party library or other classes. For example, we are using suppose we are using an endpoint from a third party using REST template, and that endpoint is down for some time for some reason. Okay, then our testing will be paused, because if at that time we'll run our test cases. So since that endpoint is down, that REST template will throw error because it is not working. So it will give us some error, and our JUnit test case will fail. So in that case, we use Mockito framework, so that we assume that the code that is there for that microservice, suppose third-party microservice or application, they have written the test cases for that code, right? So we are not going to test their code, we are going to test our code, and we know what is the expectation from that code. So we will mock that part also. So this is one example, and there are many more examples in our upcoming application demo also. So using Mockito, we can mock the REST template so that our test case are not dependent on the REST template. Okay. Oh, sorry, let's go to session.
Hey, Jitendra. I think the many participants have joined. Can you little bit explain them why we need JUnit? What is the advantage JUnit brings to the developer life, and what kind of facilities JUnit provide us? If you can elaborate little bit to the team, the engineers who join the meeting, they will understand in a layman perspective. Because you see, if you talk about technical, but also they need to understand the layman perspective also. Okay, why JUnit? Why only JUnit helping us?
Yeah, so I just gave the introduction only, but the further explanation I'll do it with the code, with the example.
Yeah, the first explain them the advantage. Okay, what why JUnit is important in day-to-day life on the coding perspective. Okay, then they can understand. Then they collaborate. They can elaborate it. Okay, why, how we can use it.
Okay, okay. I'll tell it again. Let me go back to the slide. Yeah. So importance is the important is the unit testing of any method that we are writing. Um, so so JUnit provide the framework to test. So the here the important thing is we should do unit testing of our code. So it should be part of our code whenever we are writing a code. For example, we are writing a code to find a prime number. So we need to check that if we are passing some number and it is giving a valid result. For example, for example for 3, it is giving me true. Okay, so it says okay. So if we pass 3, it is giving me true. It means 3 is a prime number. Similarly, if we pass 10, it should give false because 10 is not a prime number. So this is how we check uh, that the method that we have written is working whatever like thought we have in our mind, so in the same way, so whatever is expected, and also not only like if there is any other cases, for example, if it is the method is throwing some exception, that also in some scenario it will throw exception. That scenario also we need to check that if we are passing some negative number or something which is not required. In case of prime number, we are passing negative numbers and we are throwing some exception, it is throwing or not. So whatever is expected from that method, it is doing that properly or not. So that we can do using unit testing only, right? Because when we are doing the complete testing, and we are facing some issue, it will be tough and it will take time to find the issue, because there will be a lots of classes, lot of hierarchy of classes and methods getting called, and then we need to debug a lot to find the actual issue. I'm not saying that if we are done with the unit testing, there will be no issue, but most of the thing will be able to validate at the development time only. We can figure it out when we are developing that time only. And JUnit is providing the framework. So in JUnit, there are many methods, there are many annotations, classes, so that we'll use in the code. I'll show you like what classes, what annotation we are using to perform the unit testing. Any question, anybody, regarding the importance of unit
See,
testing?
I want to add one more line on top of that. What
Yes.
Jitendra mentioned that. See, guys, try to understand why JUnit we do. Okay, if you see the real life benefits, what it brings to you. Now, suppose take example, you are working in a project. Okay, you have two engineers working there, and you sure that two engineers will continue to work whole life on this project? No, no, they will leave. Some new engineers will come. So they are going to write something new on top of the existing functionality. So in that case, to maintain the software quality, okay, we need the unit test so that if you make any changes, it should not break. If it is break means your test case is not covered fully. Okay. To maintain merely the quality of unit of work, whatever line you have written in the software, that will help us the JUnit. Yeah, Jitendra, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Sujit. Okay, so here we will go with the simple example. So here we are printing, like fetching the nth Fibonacci number. So I'll move to the actual example also. First, just to start with from basic, I'm taking this example, and then we'll move to the actual code that we do in the project. Okay. So this is a method which will print the nth Fibonacci number. Okay, so we want to test. So what we do usually, we will create a main method here, and then we will do the testing from that main method. But that main method will not work in our case when we are creating a application, because otherwise, because it will have lots of main method in every file to check that code, right? So this is how we do initially. Okay, but the actual way is to write a test case for this. So I'll show you a test case for this class. So in JUnit, as you can see, there are so many classes provided by JUnit. Okay, so through which we do this testing. So I'll explain one by one whenever we are reaching that point. Okay, so here this annotations provide, like, tells that this method is doing some test case. Okay, so this method is testing something, and we have the code inside. Okay, so I'll also explain sneaky throw in the next one, but here let's try first this method. So here what we are doing, we are calling the method, but we are passing a negative number. Okay, so this is what we have written in the very beginning of the code. If the number is less than n, it should throw exception. Okay, so let's run this one. Yeah, so this test case is pass, because here we know that this will throw exception. We are expecting that it will throw exception because the code is written that way. So I'm telling, so this is the way we tell. Okay, if we are going to call this method with this negative number, it will throw some exception. So this is the way in JUnit we used to confirm that this method will throw exception and it is throwing or not. Okay, so so there is a method called assert throw. Okay, and what kind of exception? Invalid object dot class exception. Okay, and this is what this method is throwing, invalid object, and there is a message also. Okay, so when we'll assert, so when we are doing assert, okay, so now it is fine that this will throw exception, but we have to assert that this is the same thing that we are expecting. There could be a case that we are accepting exception, but there is a different exception and different message. So we are checking the message also. Okay, we are getting this. So for example, suppose this method throws this exception like in two places with different method, different message. Okay, so suppose for negative we are throwing this message, and for some other say for zero also we can do, but here we are, since we are handling zero in different way. So for suppose for zero also we are saying zero value is not allowed. Okay, so we need to check when we are passing negative and when we are passing zero, both cases should be tested. Okay, so both will throw exception. Then we'll check the message. That message is coming, whatever message is coming is same that we are expecting for a negative number. Okay, so this is how we do, and this method will check the output of this exception is same as this message or not. Okay. Okay, so now we are checking for zero. Okay, so we know, like, if we will pass zero, it should return zero. So we are checking here assertion.assert true. If we are passing zero, it should come zero. So let's check this is working or not. Okay, this is also working. So here you can see another annotation. This is sneaky throw, because if you will not put this annotation here, we'll get a complaint that this method throws an exception. So kindly handle it. Okay, but that exception part we already have handled here, right? So we know this throw exception, but here in this case, since we are passing zero, or some number which will not throw exception. In that case, we can tell, okay, I know this will throw exception, but in this scenario, since with this input it will not throw, so that's why we tell the unit like ignore this message for this method, because we are passing the input like in a proper way. Okay, so and we are expecting 0 as output, so this will assert this value, whatever coming value is there, and then again we are passing a proper number. So I think by mistake I have added here. This should not be the part. Okay. Yeah. Since we know that the Fibonacci number of 10th Fibonacci number is 34, so is it working fine? Same thing here also. So why we have written 3 method here? This is the important part. So now you know how to test, but why we have 3 scenario here? We can even have more. So we have only 1 method, but for writing test cases, we are trying to cover all the scenario by passing all different values. So we know that it will throw exception, so we are passing a negative number. Then we know it will give 0 for a 0 number, so that is also checked. And for a proper number also, it is giving the proper value, then this is also checked. It means our code for finding the nth Fibonacci number is good. Okay, so it is working as expected. Okay, but if we'll write the same code, this will be a task for the post assessment. So I'm just giving you the hint, say large number. Okay, so large number will be say 50. So Fibonacci number, let's run this first. I'll explain. So see, now it is taking time. For 10, it worked very fast, but for 50, it is taking time. So it means there is some issue with our, there is some performance issue, because it is taking too much time and our code is not capable of doing it like very fast. Just let it complete, then I'll explain again. Oh, sorry, this will not be 34 in this case, so that's why it is failing. So once we'll know the exact number, see, we can see the difference here. Okay, it is true, false only. So before passing the input, we need to know what is the output. Okay. Okay, so here the point is like this is not working fine because it is taking too much time. So what we did, we will do some improvement, and then we written this code, another method. So I was supposed to write in this method only, but just to show the difference, I wrote it here. Okay, so let's go back and check this one. So it takes it takes a new a hash map as an input. Okay, so now I'll run this again. This will, okay, let me check what is the input output first. Oh,
I think it's out of the integer length range.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now you see like it took very less time. Okay, 20 millisecond only to run this, and it is giving the expected result. So this also we can test. We cannot only test the input and output, but we can also test the performance also. Okay. So um, so here, so how to check performance? So we can in the test case here we can write here we can write the start time in millisecond and the end time in the millisecond, and then we can also check that the time taken by this method is within the limit or not. Okay, so suppose for example the limit is set to 200 millisecond maximum. Okay, so it should be within that limit only. Okay, so okay, let me show you. This is something which we generally don't do, so that's why. So we know that so there are two things. This should return this value for 50, plus it should also be completed within 200 millisecond. Okay, so let's see. So you have tried with a less number, but okay. Yeah. So here it says here it says only two. So it took 42 seconds, right? So that's why it is. Yeah, at line number this 34 it fails. Okay, so oftentimes like we have seen like our API is taking too much time. So why it is taking too much time we don't know at that time. Then we do debug and then see, okay, this method is taking time. So we can do this performance testing also for that particular. So it's a unit testing. So everything I'm telling is regarding the unit testing. Okay, so that particular method. Okay, so we can check the time taken by that particular method is within the limit or not. Okay, so in this case we can try again. So we improve our code and then we see. Yeah, it got completed. Okay, so it took 24 milliseconds, so which is less than 200, so it is fine. Okay, so any question? See, any question is fine. Like don't think that it's a silly question or something else. So you can ask anything. Any annotations you want to see. There are many annotations. Okay, depending upon the requirement, we'll explore more, and then we'll use more annotations and classes and methods in the JUnit frameworks plus Mockito framework also. So any question?
So hi Jitendra, I have a single question like, so is it necessary to write the test cases for every logic? If the answer is no, then why?
No, no, answer is yes, because yes, we should write. Uh, so, uh, so whatever scenario we have mentioned here, if else, so it should go through all the code. So our test case should be capable of going through all the lines that we have written. If it is not going through all the lines, then it means our test case is not completely validating our methods. So we don't know what will happen for this line. Because the way we are passing the input to the method doesn't validate this line, because it will not come to this condition. Okay, so it means that it can misbehave when we are going to some we are going to deploy it to some environment, because we never know what will happen in this scenario with this inside this if condition. So whatever condition we are giving, if there are 10 conditions, there should be 20 test cases for that method, because every condition will have some negative and positive scenario, right? So that's why, like, that is the reason why we should not have multiple if and else in a same method. Otherwise it will be tough to identify the issue. It will have lots of like huge complexity also. Okay, so the point here is we should give input such a way like that all the line here is covered. Okay, and if we are not able to produce such input, it means that is a kind of not reachable code. So we need to rethink that, like, do we need this condition or not really? Because if we are not able to think, it means we have written the code, but this is kind of non-reachable code. Okay, so we don't want to let any line go in the production or anywhere which we are not sure like what will happen in that case. Okay, so
Okay, thank
like,
you.
did I answer? Okay. Okay, so
Jitendra, why we use Smith throw?
yeah, okay. So see, if we'll not, so we know this our method that for which we are writing the test case throws exception. Okay, so for that we have written the test case without sneaky throw, and because here we are testing the exception part. Like, if we'll pass negative number, it will throw exception. So that we already have verified. Okay, now we don't need that for every method. So now, since we are looking for a different value here, so if we'll not write, see what will happen is it will it will give me a compiler error and say like this method throws exception and kindly handle it. So we can do it like, we can mark this method also throws exception, or we can do try catch. So that we should know, like we should not do this that in the test method test case, right? We should not do the try catch in test case. So since we know what is going to happen with this zero input, we know what will happen with this 50 input. So that's why we are telling compiler, don't give any problem for this case, because we know what is going to happen. This will, so exception. So we know what will happen. Okay, so what, when we don't know, so in production what kind of input will come, that time we don't know, then we put try and catch, because we don't know what value will come. Okay, so we are expecting an integer value and some string value comes, then or say null value comes. So for that case, in that case we do that if and else part, and whatever is required we do. But here we know, so that's why we are saying don't create any problem, because we know this is not going to do, like, not going to give any exception. So did you got it, Shivam?
Yes, yes, good. Good.
Okay, okay. Okay, let's move to another test case. So I'll show you the this repository first, the actual class. Okay, I'll tell you about this application first. So this is a simple application. We are reading a data from a file and then we are putting that data to a Redis. Okay, so we have Redis configuration where we are getting the Redis pool to communicate with Redis. We have a controller. So whatever data we have, um, whatever data we have. We are able to fetch the data from the Redis. Okay, so we have an API here to fetch the data, and these two were the problems, the Fibonacci series that we discussed just now, and this is another method where we say find max. So this will be your task to complete. So one I have done for you. Similarly, I have done another scenario also for Mockito also. So this was for only for JUnit. So there is nothing here which is related to Mockito. Okay. So for this, you have to write as a part of like post assessment for this class, and then we have some models. We have a post repository which will be saving. So whenever we start this application, okay, this is the main class, main method, which it have the main method. So what we are doing here, we are creating the object of post repository. That is, we are passing it to the post repository, and then we are loading the data by reading it. If you already have the data, we'll delete it, and then we'll read it from a file that is there in the resource. So here is the file. So here we are reading the data from this file and adding it to the Redis. So I intentionally use this Redis example because we know many of us have done this for REST template, but since we need to learn Redis also, so there is a hidden agenda behind this. So you'll know something about Redis also. That's why I took this example. Okay. So this is simple application. We are loading the data to a Redis, and then we have a endpoint controller through which we'll fetch the data. So okay, let me show you also. One second, now there is some error. I'm not sure why it is taking this port. Okay, for now, I'll hard code the value. Okay, wait. Yes. It is not reading a Lambda annotation. I don't know why. But just before this session, it was working fine. But okay, I'll try it again. Okay, maybe it is not reading a Lambda annotations. I just executed this on Eclipse. It was working fine. I just imported it to IntelliJ. Okay. Okay. So if you also face the same issue, let me know. I'll help you. Okay. So anyway, this will not stop us with the JUnit part because we can still go with that part. So what I was wanted to show you is whenever we so when we start the application and we hit the search API, it will give us some input like this. Okay. So it was just now it was working fine. I don't know why it is not working now. Maybe there is some different configuration in Eclipse and IntelliJ. But okay, it's fine. So this is the application. So we have added the data by reading the data file, a JSON file, and then we added it to the Redis. And now we are doing the search API on this. Okay. So we have created a search controller which will search the data from the Redis. Okay. So now let's go and write the test case for this post repository, which is actually putting the data into the Redis. So this is the two method which is writing the data to the Redis. Okay. So okay. So I have written this test case already. Okay, so now comes the role of Mockito. Okay, so in the beginning I said like there are dependency on third-party tools, applications, and etc. So there, suppose in case like if we are if our Redis is not running, okay, or if suppose we are using something else on say GCP or AWS, we are not able to connect to AWS, so we'll be stuck. We will not be able to compile this code. We'll not be able to install this code because in install it runs test cases also. So either we will have to skip the test cases, but this will not run because if we will not use Mockito, the actual code will run, which will try to connect and save the data to the Redis. Okay. So here what we'll do, we'll write the this mock. We'll create a mock object. Okay, and then we know. So the point is we know what it's going to do when it's going to call the method called JSON set, and JSON set is there in the this. Here we are, so we are writing a test case for this same method. Okay, and inside this we are dependent on this two line. So what if this, like now, say Redis is not working in my local because of some problem, so we will not be able to set this, we will not be able to call this method because Redis is not working. So we know what it's going to do, and we don't have to do anything with this method, right? So we know, like, this will add the data, this two line will add the data. So since we know, we'll tell this mock object whenever this object will be called. So we tell when this method is called with any string argument and any, so for this, if you see, it takes key and object. Okay, so we are saying any string and any object, then return added, anything we can return. Okay, and same for this add method. We are saying any string, so it takes two input, which is string and string array. Okay, so it's a variable array which takes any number of input. Okay, so we are passing those two input. Okay, and if we are passing it two input, then return one as a output. Okay, so don't do anything, whatever we are saying. If we are going to call it with this method with this two input, simply return this method and this string. And if we are going to call this method with this two input, simply return one. Don't go inside the code and call the actual code, otherwise it will throw exception, because our Redis or whatever we are using is not actually running on our local. Okay, and we don't want to be stuck because of that. Okay, so we have added, so this is the method in Mockito which provide this facility where we can tell whenever this method is called, then return. So this is another method which will return the object which we want for this test case. Okay, and this annotations is before all, means whatever test case. So this class can have multiple test cases. Currently I have only one, and there are lots of method inside this. So I have written only one test case for this same method. We have to write for delete, all, search, and everything, right? So instead of doing the same thing again and again for all the test cases, what we are doing is we are setting up the environment with all the things that is required for all the methods to test them. Okay, so we have created the environment, we have initialized all the objects, and then we'll run the test cases for all the methods with multiple say scenario, multiple input. Okay, so let's try this and run. Okay, since we did some change here, let me revert it. Okay. I think
So
same issue.
did you enable post processing in IntelliJ?
So yeah, when I imported this application just now, like before this session, the pop-up here like come up and I enabled it.
Can you
Uh,
do the Maven clean first?
okay.
Then do Maven compile.
Yeah.
Okay, can you go to the window preference and then see that your annotation is enabled or not?
Can
No,
you,
go to the file setting. Sorry, go to the file setting.
Jitendra, can we add plugin like we have a
Yeah,
plugin, bug plugin?
can you go to the plugin? Uh, check for your Lombok.
This one.
No, no, not this one. Just wait 1 second. There's a preprocessor you need to enable in the Lombok. Can you search for Lombok at the top? I don't know exact location where it is coming, but it should be. Yes, Lombok is coming. No. So did you? Yeah, enable the Lombok version. Automatic add. Yes, enable it. Apply. Can you try now?
Yeah. Actually, I work mostly with Eclipse, and it have my like project code also. So that's why I thought to move to this IntelliJ for this session because it will have lots of code there. Okay.
See,
Okay.
whenever you are comfortable with that ID, try to give the session with that ID only. Otherwise, it create lots of problem on you on presenting and giving. Okay, just be familiar whatever the ID you like. Can you test now if it is working?
Yeah, it is working now.
Okay.
Yeah, so the reason was because that was having lots of other code for my related to my project also. So that's why I thought not to use Eclipse. Otherwise, I'll have to delete all the things and then again import it. Okay, but I got it now. I know it now. Okay. So yeah, now it is working fine. So this is running fine. Uh, okay, so what we are doing for verifying? Okay, so this executed fine and we got the output. Now we need to verify. Okay, so whatever data we like passed here, all the code, all the lines in this method got executed in the way we were looking for. Okay, so uh, it all should be executed properly. So what, like if you'll see here, how to verify if everything is executed. So first thing is we can see this mock object which we have mocked in our test case. So this is getting called twice, one here and second here. So they are like this method is this object is getting called twice in this method. So we can verify this that this is actually got called twice or not. Okay. So here I am verifying. Sorry, this one. So I am verifying this is the object. It should be called at least 2 times. Okay. So and since it passed, it means it was called twice, right? And we can verify many other things also. For example, whatever it returns, it should have 2 tag at least. Okay, so if we go to this method again, so this post object that will return will have 2 input because we are passing 2 tag, so it should return 2 tag. Okay, I'll show you.
Guys, I have one question because I think Jitendra is trying to explain from last 30 minutes. Guys, do you understand why we use Mockito, first of all?
Yeah, to mock the object.
To mock the object. And what benefit does it bring to the developer life?
Like we don't need to depend on the dependencies like we use in our program. to like unexpected behavior of the like sometimes we find our test cases because of the dependencies to the another. So we mock that dependencies in our program.
Okay. Yes, Jitendra, go ahead. The reason I asked this question because I think the session should be interactive. It's not that only one way you are explaining. Okay, because
Yes.
I see always the interaction should happen in the session, and that will bring more benefit to the engineer. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. And so now we tested it, and we can also see one more thing. When we are creating this post, we are passing null because in the same method we are checking this. So in case the post ID is null, so it should create a post ID. Okay. So that also we can verify. Okay, it will not be equal. It will be assert true. Not equal to null because since we are passing it null here, but after the successful execution of the code, it should not be null anymore. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So it says okay. So everything that we are verifying here, we are verifying three things. So like in each test case, there is not like there will be some scenario where we need to verify many things to say that okay, my code is running fine. Okay. So in this method, we are verifying three things here, and after this, all three things are good. We are saying okay for this input which we are creating here, my code is running fine. Okay, there might be more inputs, so we'll have to write more uh, method for the same for more test cases for the same method. Okay, but for this input it is working fine. Okay, there could be more scenario we can think of, and we can write the test cases accordingly. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so for this 1 hour, I practice like this is the only thing that I can explain for now. But yeah, we have many more classes here, which I already have committed on the code. Okay, so
Jitendra,
what?
I
Yes,
have one
yes,
question. So suppose our method is static, the method that you
yeah,
write, right? So can we mock it using our Mockito like
yeah. So there
API?
is a power mock which we use for such methods, even for a private method. Okay, so there is
Guys, sorry to interrupt. Power mock should not be recommended, Jitendra.
yeah, no. I'm not recommending. I'm saying for static method, how to test, like how to mock a static method.
No, it's fine, but we do not recommend power mock because it is memory CPU consumption kind of thing, and there are alternatives to achieve those static methods. And sometimes we have to take different strategy to why we should be testing that static methods as well, right? And I think we will talk like when we have the advanced sessions. We can talk about those things. It is about private methods, static methods. What are the alternative ways of achieving those things, right? So instead of PowerMock, I would say that we can read through it. Obviously, there are limitations. We should not reach out to that PowerMock because it primarily works from the reflection perspective, and it's not a good practice. Okay, so we'll talk about this later on, I think. But yes, there are ways to achieve those static methods, but I do not want to like hog on those this session that Jitendra is delivering. So, but a
Yeah.
small
Why it is not recommended? Because if we are if we have any logic in the static method, so static method should have the code which will not depend upon their input. So whatever input we have given, it should goes through, so that static method should get executed in a proper way, and we do not have any logical code inside the static method. So that's the reason we should avoid writing test cases for mocking the static method, because that code should not affect our logic which we are writing the test cases. Okay, so it should only perform some, say for example, some conversion. We are converging one object to another object. In util method, we are creating a util class, and where we are converting, say for example, object class A object to class B, we are converting the data. So suppose in class A there are 10 variables, but we need to give a response which have only 4 variables. Okay, so that such method will create a static method where we are just converting, taking the input get and set, get and set. So there is nothing here which will affect our logic. Okay, so let that static method executed completely, and we should not mock, because static method do not contain anything which requires mocking.
Interrupt here this part, because see, you cannot tell that static method doesn't contain any information. Okay,
Yes.
there is a chances that because see, you are also working many third-party libraries, and you use the Mockito for the third-party dependencies. Okay, so you cannot ask third-party library that you cannot write the static method in a way, because we are dependent on the so many dependencies in the world. Okay, whenever you write application and you want to test particular thing, but there is a multiple way in the Mockito also framework that allow us to test the static method, the private method. Okay, it's not that, but you have to write little bit code in a tricky way. Okay, I think that is also a good question Gaurav asked, and I think we need to also have a session on this part, how to test the static method in Mockito,
Right.
and how to utilize the private method, how to test the private method also. And I see, whenever you're covering a JUnit and Mockito, the main thing is that if you see the example that you took, the Redis, okay, I think day by day people are using microservices word, okay, in that how your service layer interacting with the other services, and that would be a preferred example for the team to understand, okay, because see, if you see the way we are working nowadays, I think we should think in that way when we give a demo, so that they can correlate the real work what they're doing.
Right, Sujit, I agree. But yeah, so Jitendra, don't take it from that perspective that we are giving, and we are trying to say that how we are going to present the current situation, like the problem at hand with the people, right? Basically, when I say dependency, the people should know the meaning of dependency in this real distributed solution that we are providing. Because when we design monolithic structures, then we implicitly have those things. We do not have such kind of things where we introduce such practices, right? So now we are practicing a test-driven development, a shift-left approaches, right? So we can get started from that discussion, starting from that. What is shift-left, and why do we need so? What is test doubles, and then how we can what are the dependencies, right? How one service talk to other service, and why do we need a mock? And then we can get to a point where we have a simple problem statement where we have a dependency between two service, right? Although it could be very simplest service, right? That can state, okay, this is the functionality from the user business perspective. Business is looking for this functionality, and that could be tested in multiple ways, from unit testing to integration system testing, right? So what is the objective that unit testing solve, and how it solves the business, how it actually improves the quality of the entire software, right? So from that angle, I think we should reach out to this so that it resonates what developers are doing right now. Because if they do not understand the reason of unit test, they do not actually adopt it in day-to-day practice. So they normally take a different route to achieve it, to achieve code coverage, but they do not really feel attached with that. I am doing this because of this, I am improving the quality. So that sense, if it comes within the developer mindset, then they started doing themselves a very good test. They understand, okay, this is the scenario, I need to add it in the logic in the unit test, make sure that it will not be broken by some other code. Somebody else has written something. So it actually represents the intention. Whenever we write unit test, what we are trying to say, this function has some intention, the intention is fulfilled, and is this unit test is actually making sure that it is getting passed, and other person knows about when making a change in a function, then that unit test breaks, it means that you breaks the intention of that function, and we have to make sure that changes that we are introducing into the function is not breaking the previous intention. Okay, so that's the
Yeah,
way.
Basically, see, you are basically acting on the act and fact. Okay, the unit test basically act on the act and fact. If you do act on this, what is the behavior of that fact? If you see particular method, now take example, Jitendra, whatever the method you have written, like search, anything, basically it act on based on the some of the parameters, correct? And based on that, what are the facts that is coming from your method? So developer, we need to give a developer a mindset to understand why each line of code we do test in unit testing. What is the reason of unit testing we perform? It's not about the blocks. Each line need to be tested. If you are putting a logging, now take example, if I put a line number 59 a logging, how you going to test the logging? Because that is also an act happen in your method.
Yeah, I think time
So
time
that is the way we need to take for further in this session. I think this is a good session, but I think day by day, as engineers, we need to improve the sessions to give more insightful information in day to day work, how it is useful for them.
Yeah, so I think overall agenda is same. This is the just starting point from today. So we'll have more session on like to complete everything that we discussed just now. So the further I just said I need 1 minute. So the post assessment is to write the test cases for other classes. Okay. For example, in post repository only there are few more methods, and in math util also there are method for which I have not written the test cases. Okay, so this is purposefully written in this class to write to if you'll write the test cases, you'll come to know whatever I explained. Okay, so hope this helps you to understand a bit more. Okay, before like what you have before this session, and any question in the post assessment task.
Yeah, any due date for the test cases, like how much test cases we have to write?
So I'll say whatever you start with, just complete that all the scenario. Okay, due date we can communicate. Okay, so you start with, suppose you're starting with post repository. So you complete all the scenario for this and then move to, say, suppose math util, then you complete all the scenario of this. And regarding date, I think we'll communicate it later.
So we can keep it as 2 weeks, right, Jitendra? Do you think that
Yeah.
would be doable, right? So today is Wednesday, 11th, right? Let's keep the due date at 25th.
Okay. 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 Any other question regarding this post assessment? Okay, no problem. Even if you have, you can ping me. Okay, so that is not a problem. And I think I'm done. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Jin. Thanks for wonderful session.
Putting your effort in it and contributing to the awareness of the unit test to the people.
Sure. Thanks, Jitendra.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jitendra.
Thank you, Jitendra, for the amazing session, and thank you everybody for attending the session. See you all soon with the next CodeCamp series.
Hey, thank you.